When you think of Colorado, what comes to mind? Is it the sprawling ski resorts of Aspen and Vail, the craft breweries of Denver, or maybe those breathtaking, almost impossibly perfect calendar photos of the Rocky Mountains? That's the image they sell you. A postcard paradise of snowy peaks and alpine meadows. But behind that glossy veneer, there's a different story unfolding, a much grittier and more desperate one. It's a story of communities on the edge, towns that were once the vibrant, beating heart of this state, now fighting for every last breath in the thin mountain air. This isn't a story about ski lifts and luxury condos. It's about what happens when the boom goes bust and the people are left behind. We are driving straight into the heart of the Centennial State to find the mountain towns that are barely hanging on. These aren't just dots on a map. They are living, breathing places with deep histories, now facing a slow, painful decline. The forces of modern economics, gentrification, and isolation are hollowing them out, turning them into ghost towns in the making. Stick around because we are going to visit a town where the wind might actually blow you away before the economy does, and another spot that was once a gambling mecca but is now just betting on its own survival. This is the Colorado you don't see on the travel brochures. This journey is about understanding the real cost of that picture-perfect mountain life. It's about the families who can no longer afford to live in the towns their grandparents built, and the main streets that fall silent once the tourists go home. If you appreciate uncovering the gritty truth behind the scenery, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more deep dives, and leave a comment telling me which mountain town you think has changed the most. Now, keep your hands on the wheel and your eyes on the road. Let's drive up into the thin air to see who is struggling to breathe. Our first stop is Silverton, a name that echoes with the promise of riches from a bygone era. Tucked away deep in the San Juan Mountains, this town is, visually, everything you'd want from a historic mining town. The Victorian architecture, the dramatic peaks looming over Main Street. It's stunning. For a few months in the summer, tourists flood in, many arriving on the historic Durango and Silverton narrow-gauge railroad. They shop, they eat, they take their photos, and then, just as quickly, they leave. But what happens when the last train pulls out for the season? When winter descends on Silverton, it's not just a season. It's a siege. The town becomes profoundly isolated. The very mountains that provide its breathtaking backdrop become the walls of a prison. The population, which hovers around 600 hardy souls, feels the squeeze. The seasonal economy evaporates, leaving behind a stark reality. Jobs disappear, businesses shutter their windows, and a deep quiet settles over the streets. This isn't the cozy fireside winter of a ski resort, it's a battle for survival against the elements and economic reality. The problem is, even for those who want to stay, it's becoming impossible. Housing, the most basic of needs, has become a crisis. The same forces driving up prices in Denver and Boulder have found their way here. Investors and second-home buyers, seeking a picturesque mountain getaway, have snatched up properties, pricing out the locals, the teachers, the bartenders, the town employees. People who have lived here for generations are being forced to leave, not because they want to, but because they simply can't afford a roof over their heads. You can see the hollowing out in real time. School enrollment is a key indicator of a town's health, and in Silverton, the numbers are dwindling. Fewer kids mean fewer families, which means a community aging and shrinking. The very fabric of the town is unraveling. The people who make Silverton are being replaced by empty vacation homes that sit dark and cold for most of the year. This isn't sustainable. A town can't survive on scenery alone. It needs people. So Silverton is left with this paradox. It's a place so beautiful that people want a piece of it, but that very desire is what's killing it. The tourist dollars are a lifeline, but they're not enough to build a stable, year-round community. The town is caught in a tug-of-war between its past as a rugged mining outpost and its present as a seasonal tourist trap. And as we drive out, past the for-sale signs and the quiet homes, you have to wonder how many more winters Silverton can survive before the lights go out for good. Next, we head to Fairplay. Yeah, that Fairplay, the town that famously served as the visual inspiration for the animated series South Park. But the reality here is a lot less cartoonish and a lot more concerning, perched at an elevation of nearly 10,000 feet. Fairplay has always been a place defined by its rugged independence. It was a gold rush town, a hub for miners seeking their fortune. Now, it's facing a new kind of rush, one that threatens to erase its identity completely. The core of the problem is geography. Fairplay is just close enough to the big ski resorts of Summit County, Breckenridge, Keystone, to feel their gravitational pull, but it's just far enough away to be considered the cheaper, less desirable option. So what happens? It becomes a bedroom community, a commuter town. People who work in the resorts but can't afford to live there are pushed over the pass to Fairplay. This influx has created a housing crisis of its own. What you see is a town being split in two. On one side, you have the old-timers, the families who have been here for generations, who remember when Fairplay was just Fairplay, not a suburb of Breckenridge. On the other, you have the newcomers, not integrated into the community but simply using it as a place to sleep. This dynamic creates a town that feels hollow. The main street, which should be the heart of the community, struggles. Businesses that cater to locals find it hard to compete in an economy increasingly geared towards commuters and second home owners. And then, there's the tax man. As property values skyrocket due to the demand from outside, so do property taxes. For retirees on fixed incomes or working-class families, these increases are devastating. We spoke to one resident whose family has been here since the 1940s. Her property taxes have tripled in the last 5 years. She's being taxed out of her own home, a story we're hearing again and again in these mountains. The very system designed to fund the community is actively pushing its foundational members out. Fairplay is losing its soul. It's becoming a pass-through, a collection of houses rather than a cohesive town. The infrastructure, roads, water, services, is strained, unable to keep up with the unplanned growth. The sense of community, that shared identity that holds a small town together, is fraying. South Park might be a comedy, but the slow death of the real town it's based on is a tragedy. Fairplay is betting on its proximity to wealth, but it's a bet that seems to be costing the town its very identity. Now, we're going way off the beaten path. To get to Walden, you have to drive deep into North Park, a vast, high-elevation basin surrounded by mountains on all sides. They call this place the moose viewing capital of Colorado, and that's not just a tourism slogan. It's a demographic reality. This is one of the most isolated places in the state, and that isolation is both its defining characteristic and its biggest threat. There are no ski resorts here, no major highways passing through. There's just Walden. The town was built on ranching and logging, industries that have been in steady decline for decades. The jobs that once supported families have dried up, and with them, the people. Walden's population has been shrinking for years, falling to under 600 residents. When you walk through the town, the emptiness is palpable. It's not the seasonal emptiness of Silverton, it's a permanent, pervasive quiet. For every occupied house, it feels like there's another that's vacant, or a business that is closed for good. Life here is tough. The winters are notoriously brutal, with fierce winds and deep, persistent cold. The nearest large hospital or major grocery store is a long, often treacherous drive away. For young people, the opportunities are virtually non-existent. If you want a career, if you want to go to college, if you want something more than the quiet rhythm of this isolated valley, you have to leave. And most of them do, leaving behind an aging population to keep the town running. We visited the local school, a small building that houses all grades from kindergarten through 12th. The graduating classes are sometimes in the single digits. Teachers tell us it's a struggle to offer a full range of programs when the student body is so small. Every family that moves away is a blow, not just to the school, but to the entire community. It's a slow-motion collapse, a feedback loop of decline. Fewer people mean fewer services, which in turn encourages more people to leave. Walden is a stark example of what happens when a town's economic reason for being disappears. It's a beautiful, wild place. The landscape is breathtaking, but a landscape doesn't make a community. People do, and here in North Park, the people are losing their foothold. The moose population, on the other hand, is thriving. You can't help but feel a dark irony in that. As we leave Walden behind, the feeling is one of profound isolation, of a place being slowly reclaimed by the wilderness, where the moose might genuinely, soon, outnumber the humans. From the isolation of Walden, we climb to the highest incorporated city in North America, Leadville. At 10,152 feet, This is a place literally built on thin air and heavy metal. Its history is legendary. A silver boomtown that was once one of the richest and most notorious cities in the world. The streets are lined with magnificent brick buildings, monuments to a time when fortunes were made and lost overnight. But the grandeur of that history casts a long shadow over Leadville's present struggles. The mines that gave Leadville its name and its wealth are mostly silent now. The boom and bust cycle that defined its past has left it in a state of prolonged economic stagnation. But here's the cruel twist. While the high-paying jobs of the mining era are gone, the cost of living has skyrocketed. Like Fairplay, Leadville has become collateral damage in the explosion of the nearby resort economies of Vail and Copper Mountain, just a short drive over the pass. This is the new Leadville reality, a town of blue-collar workers, service industry employees, and a few remaining miners, all struggling to survive in a housing market dictated by resort wealth. The median home price has soared to levels completely disconnected from local wages. Renters are being pushed out as landlords convert long-term rentals into lucrative short-term vacation properties on platforms like Airbnb. The historic buildings that once housed saloons and brothels now sit empty or contain high-end boutiques that, honestly, few locals can afford to shop in. We walk down Harrison Avenue, the main drag, and the contrast is jarring. You see a beautifully restored Victorian building next to one that's crumbling, its windows boarded up. You see a coffee shop selling $7 lattes to tourists next to a thrift store that's a lifeline for local families. The town is grappling with a severe identity crisis. Is it a historic relic, a tourist destination, or a community for the people who actually live and work here? Right now, it's trying to be all three, and it's failing. The very altitude that makes Leadville unique also compounds its problems. Heating costs in the long, brutal winters are astronomical. Access to healthcare is limited. For many, life here is a constant grind, a struggle to make ends meet in the shadow of unimaginable historical wealth and modern resort excess. Leadville isn't a ghost town yet, but it's a town haunted by its past and squeezed by its present. A place where the American dream feels like it's running out of oxygen. Our journey now takes us south to one of the most remote and dramatically situated towns in Colorado, Creed. Tucked into the end of a volcanic caldera, the town is literally a dead-end street against a wall of rock. In the summer, it's magical. The Creed Repertory Theater, a nationally acclaimed company, comes to life, drawing in crowds from across the country. The streets are filled with art galleries, unique shops, and people enjoying the cool mountain air. For 3 months, Creed is alive. But then, September comes. The tourists leave. The theater closes its doors for the season, and the town's population plummets. It's estimated that the year-round population is less than half of what it is in the summer. This extreme seasonality is Creed's fundamental problem. The entire economy is built on a fleeting, 3-month romance with tourists, leaving it to face a long 9-month winter of harsh reality. For the few hundred people who call Creed home year-round, survival is a challenge. Many have to patch together a living from multiple part-time seasonal jobs. The business owners we talked to described the immense pressure of trying to make enough money in the summer to carry them through the rest of the year. Some are forced to close up shop entirely during the winter, leaving Main Street a ghost of its summer self. This isn't a sustainable model for a community. The shrinking year-round population has a cascading effect. The school is small and constantly at risk. Basic services, like a full-service grocery store or consistent medical care, are hard to maintain. If you need a specialist or a major shopping trip, you're looking at a drive of several hours over winding mountain passes. This isolation weeds people out. It makes it incredibly difficult to attract new families or professionals to put down permanent roots. Creed is a town living a double life. It presents a vibrant, artistic face to the world in the summer, but behind that mask is a community struggling to hold on. It's a place that is deeply loved by those who stay, who cherish the quiet of the off-season and the tight-knit community. But love doesn't pay the bills or keep the school open. As we stand on the quiet Main Street in the off-season, surrounded by closed signs and the echo of the wind, Creed feels like a beautiful stage set waiting for actors who may one day not return. Just a short, winding drive up Boulder Canyon from the hyper-progressive and wealthy city of Boulder, we find Nederland. For decades, Ned has cultivated an image as a quirky, funky, hippie mountain town, a bastion of counterculture. It's famous for its annual Frozen Dead Guy Days festival and its independent, off-the-grid spirit. But that very spirit is now under threat from the economic forces of the city just down the canyon. The core of Nederland's problem is Boulder. As the tech boom has turned Boulder into one of the most expensive cities in the country, its housing crisis has spilled up the canyon. Nederland is no longer a funky, affordable refuge. It's become a real estate battleground. Wealthy buyers from Boulder and out of state are snapping up properties, either as second homes or as primary residences for telecommuters, driving prices to astronomical levels. This has created a deep and palpable tension in the community. On one side are the old-timers, the artists, musicians, and hippies who gave the town its character. They are being priced out, their funky cabins and modest homes now sitting on land worth a fortune. On the other side are the newcomers, often perceived as bringing a different, more corporate, less community-oriented ethos. The local coffee shop, once a hub for community chatter, is now filled with people on laptops, plugged into a world far from Nederland. The result is the death of local character. Small, independent businesses that have been staples for decades are finding it impossible to survive. The rents are too high, and they can't compete with the changing tastes of the new demographic. A beloved local grocery store closes, replaced by a boutique. A quirky bar is sold and turned into a sterile, upscale bistro. Each closure is another nail in the coffin of the old Nederland, another piece of its soul chipped away. Nederland is a cautionary tale about what happens when a unique culture becomes a commodity. The very funkiness that made it desirable is being sanitized, packaged, and sold to the highest bidder. The town is losing its grit, its authenticity. The battle for Nederland is a battle for its identity, a struggle between the laid-back, community-focused dream it once represented and the harsh, market-driven nightmare it is becoming. It's a town at war with itself, and it's not clear if the Nederland everyone loved can survive. Driving west from Denver on Interstate 70, Georgetown is one of the first historic mountain towns you encounter. It's honestly a postcard. The beautifully preserved Victorian architecture, the iconic Georgetown Loop Railroad, it really feels like a perfectly curated slice of the 19th century. It's a popular day trip from the city, a convenient stop for tourists looking for a quick, clean dose of mountain charm before heading up to the ski resorts. But you know, this convenience is a double-edged sword. Georgetown's historic charm is its main attraction, but it's also a facade that, well, masks some serious economic pressures. Because it's so close to Denver, it has become a prime target for a specific kind of real estate investment. Short-term vacation rentals. Investors buy up historic homes not to live in, but to rent out by the night on platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo. This has decimated the long-term rental market and driven housing prices far beyond the reach of local workers. The most telling sign of Georgetown's decline as a living community is the school. Enrollment has been falling for years. A town that can't hold on to its families and children is a town without a future. We walked past the school, and the quiet playground tells a story of demographic collapse. The community is aging, and the young families who should be its lifeblood are being forced out, replaced by a transient population of tourists and weekenders. This shift has a pretty profound impact on the town's social fabric. A community of neighbors is replaced by a string of mini hotels. There are fewer people to volunteer for the fire department, to run the town festival, or to simply look out for one another during a snowstorm. The sense of shared investment in the town's future dwindles. The businesses on the main street increasingly cater only to tourists, with souvenir shops and fudge stores replacing hardware stores and local diners. Georgetown is in danger of becoming a museum piece, a beautifully preserved but hollow shell. It's a town that performs its history for visitors but is losing its ability to create a future for its residents. Its proximity to the highway makes it accessible, but it also makes it vulnerable. It's a reminder that historic preservation is, well, kinda meaningless if you don't also preserve the community itself. Georgetown looks perfect from the highway, but up close you can see the cracks forming in the foundation. Just up the road from Fairplay we find Alma, and when I say up, I mean it. Sitting at 10,578 feet, Alma holds the title of the highest incorporated municipality in North America, just beating out its neighbor, Leadville. But, this is a title that comes with a heavy burden. Life at this altitude is a constant challenge, and for Alma, it's a challenge that's becoming harder and harder to meet. Alma's problem is that it has become a town people pass through, not a place they settle. It's on the main route to Breckenridge over Hoosier Pass, so it sees a steady stream of traffic. But honestly, few people stop. It lacks a central, inviting main street like Georgetown or Creed. It feels more like a collection of buildings along a highway, a place you drive through on your way to somewhere else. There are very few local businesses and even fewer job opportunities. The economy here is almost non-existent. The mining that once sustained it is long gone. There's no major tourist attraction, no ski hill, no repertory theater. To find work, residents have to commute, usually over the pass to the resorts in Summit County. This makes Alma, like Fair Play, a bedroom community, but one with even fewer amenities and an even more tenuous grip on its identity. People live here because it's the only affordable option, not necessarily because they want to build a life in Alma itself. The high-altitude challenges are relentless and wear people down. The winters are incredibly long and harsh. The cost of heating a home is extreme. The thin air can have long-term health effects. For a town with a very limited tax base, providing basic services like snow removal and road maintenance is a constant struggle. Everything is just harder and more expensive at 10,578 feet, and without a strong economic engine, the model simply doesn't work. Alma feels like it's in a state of suspended animation. It's not quite a ghost town, but it's not a thriving community either. It's a place of immense natural beauty, surrounded by some of Colorado's tallest peaks, but it's being defined by what it lacks: jobs, a town center, a reason for people to stay and invest. It's a town on the edge, both literally in terms of altitude, and figuratively in terms of its survival. As we drive out, joining the stream of traffic heading over the pass, it's easy to see how Alma gets left behind. Next, we head to a place that once bet its entire future on a single industry central city, along with its neighbor Blackhawk. This historic mining town went all in on casino gambling in the 1990s. The idea was to revitalize their dying economies, transforming them into a mini Vegas in the mountains. For a while, the bet seemed to pay off. Money flowed in, historic buildings were restored to house casinos, and jobs were created. But today, that bet is looking like a bust. The problem for Central City is its neighbor, Blackhawk. The two towns are just a mile apart, but they took very different approaches. Blackhawk went for scale, allowing massive Vegas-style hotel casinos to be built, dominating the landscape. Central City tried to maintain its historic character, integrating smaller casinos into its existing Victorian streetscape. In the ruthless world of gambling, scale won. Blackhawk now dominates the market, capturing the vast majority of gaming revenue. Walking through Central City today is a surreal experience. You see these beautiful historic buildings, but many of them house-struggling, near-empty casinos. The slot machines chime away in vacant rooms. Other storefronts that were once casinos are now completely empty, their windows dark. The promised revitalization never fully materialized. The gambling revenue, once a flood, has slowed to a trickle, and the town is struggling to pay for basic services. The gamble has also fundamentally changed the character of the town. It's no longer a community in the traditional sense. Most of the employees commute from the Denver metro area. The housing that exists is limited and expensive. The town feels less like a place where people live and more like a themed entertainment district that's past its prime. It traded its authentic mining town soul for a gambling chip, and now it's discovering that chip isn't worth what it used to be. Central City is a town desperately searching for a new identity. The gambling model is failing, but what comes next? There's talk of pivoting to arts, history, and outdoor recreation, but it's hard to reinvent yourself when your landscape is dominated by casinos and parking garages. Central City is a cautionary tale about silver bullet solutions. It bet the house on one industry, and now, as its neighbor rakes in the chips, Central City is left wondering if it's about to fold for good. Our final stop is Victor, the sister city to the once mighty Cripple Creek. During the last great Colorado gold rush, this was a bustling, working-class city of thousands. It was the city of mines, where the hard work of extracting gold happened. While Cripple Creek had the finer establishments, Victor had the grit. Today, Cripple Creek has pivoted to gambling, but Victor has been largely left behind, a fading ghost of its former self. Walking through Victor is like stepping back in time, but not in a curated, tourist-friendly way. It feels genuinely frozen. Many of the magnificent brick buildings from the turn of the 20th century are still standing, but they are crumbling. Windows are boarded, roofs are collapsing. The sheer scale of the historic infrastructure dwarfs the tiny population of around 400 people who remain. The town is a skeleton of its past, too large for its current inhabitants to maintain. The economic engine here is a single, massive, modern gold mine that operates on the outskirts of town. It's one of the largest gold producers in the country. But here's the paradox. While millions of dollars in gold are pulled from the ground just a stone's throw away, the town of Victor itself is dying. The mine provides some jobs, but it's a highly mechanized operation that doesn't require the thousands of workers the old mines did, and many of its employees live elsewhere and commute in. The result is a town struggling to provide even the most basic services. The tax base is minuscule. Maintaining the roads, the water lines, and the historic buildings is a monumental task. The population continues to dwindle as older residents pass away and younger people leave in search of opportunities. There are few businesses left, a small cafe, a couple of antique shops, a bar. It's a place held together by a few fiercely dedicated residents who love the town's history and its quiet, rugged character. Victor is perhaps the most poignant example of a town on the brink. It's not a bedroom community or a tourist trap. It's a relic. Its legacy is literally written on the landscape, with old mine head frames dotting the hillsides. But that legacy isn't enough to sustain a future. Victor is a living ghost town, a place haunted by the wealth it once produced, now struggling for its last breath as the world around it moves on. It's a stark, powerful reminder of the boom and bust cycle that defines so much of the American West. We've covered a lot of ground, climbed to dizzying altitudes, and seen a side of Colorado that most people never do. From the winter isolation of Silverton to the fading bed of Central City, the story is both unique to each town and hauntingly similar. These are places of incredible beauty and deep history, now facing a slow, painful erosion. This road trip is going to be bumpy, a little depressing, and incredibly eye-opening. It's a journey into the heart of a crisis that is reshaping the American West, hollowing out communities and leaving behind a beautiful but empty landscape. These towns are canaries in the coal mine, warning us about what happens when local economies are displaced by tourism, real estate speculation, and the gravitational pull of wealthier urban centers. Their struggles raise difficult questions with no easy answers. How do we balance economic growth with community preservation? And what do we owe to the places and the people who built this state? Their stories are a vital part of the larger American story, and they deserve to be heard. If you appreciate uncovering the gritty truth behind the scenery, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for more deep dives, and leave a comment telling me which mountain town you think has changed the most. Your engagement helps us continue to tell these important, often overlooked stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most beautiful places have the hardest stories to tell.